good afternoon or morning or midday, wherever you are. It's 1 o'clock for us over here on the West Coast. And welcome to the Proud Family Louder and Prouder behind the scenes panel here, hosted at the wonderful AfroAnimation Virtual Summit. Second year 2.0. My name is Brianna Williams. Prefer to go by Bree. My pronouns are she, they, and I am a production coordinator on the Proud Family Louder and Prouder. And today I'm here to sort of be your host and moderator for this lovely panel of my coworkers who have created like a wonderful show. And let's let them introduce themselves. Jan.
Oh, all right. Well, hey everyone, I'm Jan Hirota, the producer of the Proud Family Louder and Prouder, which we are proud to say is now streaming on Disney Plus. So I'll hand off to Kylie.
Hey guys, this is Kylie. I'm one of the staff writers on Proud Family, and I'll hand it over to Eastwood.
Hi everyone, I'm Eastwood. I'm the art director on the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and I'll hand it off to Laren.
Hey gang, I'm Laren. I'm one of the character designers on the show. I'll hand it off to my main man, Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, creator and executive producer, Bruce W. Smith.
Woo!
Wow! Woo!
Can't get any better than that. That was Laren playing my Ed McMahon to actually let me do this. I'll play Ed McMahon to the next man and get ahead. The genius, also known as the Jizza of production, also because it's an inside joke. He actually raps and does hip hop and stuff like that too. I don't want to throw his business out there because he don't like fans apparently. So I'll just hand it to my man Charles Jones.
Hey everybody, the editor on the show.
All right. As you can see, Proud Family has a lovely host of people working on it, bringing it to life. And today we're just gonna basically, along with these wonderful panelists, break down an episode and kind of walk you through like what it takes to make an episode of animation and just like the nitty gritty of it. So we're gonna start off with like in pipeline order, and that would be producing and production. So Jan, what is a producer and how do you produce? Like, what does that mean? The mystery.
No.
How do you produce people who always want to show up late in Zoom meetings?
Hey, everyone showed up on time. We're all here, so it works. So thanks you guys. So let me try to, in a nutshell. So as producer, I budget, production plan, make schedules, and hire teams for the show. I make sure everything runs well, everything is running on time, and that people are able to work in a great way. It's a bit of an orchestration of organization, is the way I like to put it. I find that people are happy when things are organized and they can know what to expect. And we really make it so that we try to make it so that the crew can do their best work and creativity can flow in the show. And this is important because it takes a lot to make an animated series. So right now I'll share a quick overview for anyone who's not familiar with production. So we'll just talk about our production pipeline. If we have, yeah, there we go.
Hey.
With Penny. So our production pipeline includes script writing, where out of the writer's room comes our fantastic stories, our dialogue record, where our amazing cast bring our characters to life off the page. Storyboard, this is where our directors and story team flesh out the episode. And animatic, where our editor times out the storyboards, adds music and sound effects, and enhances the funny and heart in the episode. And then art direction and design, where artistic direction and character and location style is born. Overseas production, this is when we ship all of our pre-production materials, the storyboard, the animatic, all the designs we've created to the overseas studio for animation production. And then in the post-production, that's where our color footage is locked to time and performance is finessed in retakes. Music and sound design, that's where our fantastic composer and sound designer fill the episode out with beautiful and super fun score and sound. And then final delivery, where all the final picture and sound all come together and we deliver the episode. So, you know, there is so much to do, and sometimes it feels like we have so little time to do it. But at the end of the day, our goal is to create the best show possible. And obviously, we're excited with the revival of such a beloved original series such as The Proud Family. We totally embrace the challenge. And then on top of it all, for me, I get to work with amazing and talented people like every single person on this panel to make the show. So with that, we'll say we are going to walk through writing with Kylie, art direction and design with Eastwood and Laren, directing and storyboarding with Bruce, and editing with Charles. So let's jump in with Kylie and writing.
Hey everyone, I hear a little echo, so I'm gonna put these headphones in really quick. Okay, I think that's better. Okay, so thanks, Jan. So as a writer for the Proud Family, and for television animation in general, I've come to realize that anything is really possible. In animation, you are suspending your disbelief and really pushing the boundaries of reality, you know, with limitless gags and fantastical storylines that are almost impossible to achieve in live action, which I think is 10 times more fun. And I think one of the things that truly make a good animated series is when the writer can write their vision in enough detail so that the animators can bring it to life. And of course, it all starts with a script. And in this episode in particular, I was able to create a scenario that showcased how I can visually enhance a scene in an episode that started off pretty realistic, where we had La Cienega's quinceañera, but then all of a sudden, her mischievous cousin La Brea plays an ill-timed prank on her that ends up in chaos. And I actually have a scene from Raging Bully that I would like to show you all alongside the script, so you can see how it all plays out in the script versus on the screen.
Oh, you might want to.
Yeah, so as you can see, the breakup is insane. And if you noticed, a lot of the dialogue pretty much stayed the same, but there were some lines that were like altered in another revision of the script or in the recording booth where actors felt like, okay, our character would say something a little different. And if you also notice, we numbered each piece of dialogue so that the showrunners and the actors can refer to the lines in the recording sessions as well, just to keep it all organized. And then in this episode, we also introduced La Brea, who is a new face in the Proud Family verse. So getting to create her backstory and having it be an instrumental piece of exposition as to why La Cienega acts the way she acts was super fun. And fun fact, La Brea is also named after a popular street in LA, like her cousin La Cienega, that we kind of tied into the existing name gag, which I think is super fun for fans to sort of pick up on, because I think one of the most essential parts of writing for the Proud Family is certainly catering to a character's voice and remembering their traits and their tendencies when writing for them. Especially in a reboot where if you forget that Wizard Kelly says "Gull" or Oscar screams Trudy, then you're in trouble, you know. So we always have to, you know, be mindful of that. And then as far as the writer's room goes, everything is pretty much a cohesive, collaborative effort where, you know, you as the writer, more than likely the showrunner pitches an idea. Those 10 or more ideas get approved. Then the writer does a beat sheet, the beat sheet to outline, and then outline the script and many, many drafts of that script. And then the writers have an awesome animatic to look forward to, which is like a precursor to the animation, along with beautiful artwork and art direction. And speaking of art direction, I think I'll hand it over to Eastwood.
Eastwood, Lauren, what do y'all got to show us? Some wonderful designs?
Yeah, thank you. Let me share my screen really quick and see how this goes. Kind of, let's see. Is this the right screen? Can you guys see anything? No?
Might take a second. Not yet.
I don't know why it's not letting me. Hold on, give me just 1 second.
Button second from the right, right?
We're figuring this all out together, folks. But you got to see some cool animation, and that was pretty cool, along with the script.
Yeah, it was fun. A lot of, well, I forgot all the improvised lines that were there at the time, but that was pretty cool. The tiger was totally improvised on stage.
It's not letting me share.
Oh, go ahead. Geez, what I'm just.
No, it's just not letting me share. But let me try this actually.
Of course.
Okay. Oh my god. All right, let's try this. Is this working? No. That's it.
Don't see anything.
Right, so I'm just play some fun facts here. So, anyone who's familiar with what Kylie was just talking about in terms of all the LA rhetoric that you'll see in our show. LA, La Brea's mom is named Melrose. And so if you know anything about Los Angeles, Melrose and Los Angeles kind of intersect. So that was the reasoning behind it. Okay.
Melrose and La Brea.
La Brea and Melrose intersect. Melrose is that real popular street in Los Angeles where, you know, you can shop and get food at the same time. It's pretty amazing. And then the same thing with like the history of La Cienega. As mentioned, La Cienega Boulevard is that main vein in Los Angeles that you normally will fly through coming from the airport or anything like that. Sunset and La Cienega actually intersect as well in one of the hottest parts of West Hollywood. You know, except for Felix. Felix's name kind of was playing counterpart to Oscar, and that is sort of an that was a Hollywood TV show at the time. Oscar and Felix was the odd couple. And
oh gosh, this generation doesn't know what it is.
I'm speaking a complete foreign language right now.
Well, then I was gonna say, if we, because Eastwood, your images, we're gonna work on trying to get those up for you. We can talk about the directing and storyboarding process, and then come back to design.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I think Charles is ready, right? You're good, right?
Yeah.
I'll just talk and then I'll cue you up. Yeah, well, I guess.
Well, Bree will play it, right, Bree?
So as I guess directing episodic TV, I've discovered is pretty cool. It's very different than doing feature animation, at least for me, because there's a level of spontaneity, you know, that you work with, and when you work with really great artists who can actually sort of, you know, we're a script-driven show. So as Kylie had shown you, we're sort of given the script, and then it's the director's then job to, you know, execute the script with, you know, an amount of really great story artists. You kind of saw how the script and everything translates. I wanted to bring a little something different to the mix because we're walking through this episode, Raging Bully, But the other portion of the episode is the title sequence, right? So and for us, that's always been kind of a fun yet touchy subject matter for a lot of you Proud Family loyalists, because when we got into reshaping the theme song and revisiting it, we wanted to if you remember the first title sequence, we wanted to take the bones of that first title sequence and just kind of update it. There's lots of fun little Easter eggs in this title sequence where we introduced the idea of social media in the show, which is kind of the newest version of the show. So as I got the song, I then handed it off to a board artist that probably looks a whole lot like me, and he actually took the direction from the director, who looked a lot like me, and so we went back and forth.
It's him.
Both names. And so we came up with a musical sequence. I wanted to guys show you the difference between the translation. Oh, Eastwood's back. So
oh my God, did I work? I'm so sorry, guys.
Oh, now he interrupts.
It worked.
Yeah, he's so just about to show that was the highlight of his piece right here.
Right.
Yeah. He's just like, no, we got to talk about the art. Get out of here.
Yeah.
He's got it now.
Let me step off stage. I'm sorry.
No, there was some security thing with Chrome, but yeah. So basically, when Bruce talking about the animatic and the directing, so once we have the final animatic that's kind of locked, I would kind of watch it once and watch it a couple of times just to kind of, gather what I would think is kind of the most important scenes that kind of have different lighting or even different, story beat moments that we're trying to convey, and just to see what would be the most different, color change or any of that kind of stuff. So, what I would do is I would just kind of screenshot kind of different beats throughout the entire episode and just kind of compile them to kind of see what would be the most different. So then I end up kind of making a color script with that, kind of painting it really roughly, and you can see it kind of takes through the timeline visually through the entire episode. And obviously this is done not in a day or two, but it takes a little while, but it kind of
You're telling me you can't do this in one day, Eastwood?
Oh my gosh.
No,
Eastwood?
I wish.
Come on now.
If there were no meetings, maybe.
Hey! Call me out.
If there were no meetings. No, but they do take, a little bit. And but this is also a great tool because that way when the color strip is done, and usually it's done before the design team starts officially. Well, some people start black and white, and Lauren will kind of go through that. This is a great tool to kind of show Bruce and the director and kind of the whole design team what the vibe of this episode is. Because every episode is so different, and every episode has different story points and emotional moments. This is kind of it gives everyone this is the goal. This is the color landmark that we're trying to hit.
Such a beautiful puzzle.
Very much so. Eastwood, I'm seeing people yelling for an art book. So.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Good idea.
That'd be amazing. I mean, the whole team, they, everyone, Lauren, and all the storyboard artists, the designs are amazing, and it's gorgeous. And I'm not biased because I'm the art director. It is gorgeous. So in this particular episode, we had to design a set that was behind the Boulevardist house, which, already exists. So, we kind of, because of production, how fast it runs, we design things as needed. So in this episode, we needed the backyard to be dressed up to the nine for a party for Las 15. So with that in mind, with this new set, I often work with the director of the episode, which is Latoya for this one, and we kind of come up with a map, kind of the lay of the land, so that way, my designers know exactly what is going to be in this backyard, and then her sport artists are going to know what elements are in this, set that they can kind of frame the camera around. So this is super helpful. We're not creating random backgrounds that is not going to make the cut because, we don't have the time, we can't afford that. So this is a really great working relationship. And then with this in mind, I kind of, do like a rough kind of color key, and I'd look at a bunch of reference, you know, and kind of really take real life reference to and translate that into like the style of the show, you know. Even though our show is graphic and stylized, it's always important to kind of, you know, look at what real life is, because those are the things we're gonna, you know, that's gonna signify like, you know, this is a King's Day party, you know, there's a chandelier, there's balloons, you know, it's just, it's hard to make these things up. And, you know, speaking of reference, you know, Lauren will kind of tell you all about it in the character design aspect of this episode.
Awesome. Okay, for this particular episode, we had a, am I getting an echo?
No, I think you're good.
I think you're good.
Not bad. You're good, Larry.
Okay,
Yeah,
for some reason it sounds like an echo on my end, but I'll turn my volume down. For this particular episode, as Eastwood said, you know, we had a lot of fun new special characters, and one character design that you're seeing here is a rough concept for Miss Gina. The first stage of character design is that we come up with like very rough designs to figure out the concept of how the character is going to look. And because this particular character is based off of an actual real person who did the special guest voice, Miss Tina Knowles Lawson, we had to gather actual reference of her, and we had to translate the photo reference into the style of the show. After we're done with like the rough concept designs, sometimes we'll do like 3 or 4 variations of a rough concept to present to Bruce and Eastwood. As you can see here, these are La Brea and La Cienega, and we wanted to design like real nice fun dresses for this particular episode. So if you look at the top, there are tons of reference that we gather to use. Now, we didn't necessarily copy the reference, but what we do is that we gather reference so that we can be inspired, pick up on like little nuances and details that we can add to the character. And when we're like, you know, coming up with the concept of a character design, we put all those things in. You know, at this stage, this is kind of like our character design pitch. You know, we're putting in everything that we think as character designers is going to give more life, more nuance to this particular character. And then once we're done with this phase, you know, we'll again present it to Bruce and Eastwood, and if they approve it, and everything's good to go, then we'll do character turnarounds. This is a rough character turnaround. Right now, everything is still in the rough phase because we want to make sure we get everything right before we start, you know, polishing things up. So this one right here is a rough turnaround of La Brea. As you can see, you know, in turnarounds, we have to do pretty much every angle. You know, sometimes we do more turnarounds depending on the complexity of the character, how it's going to animate. But right here, also La Cienega, fun turns. But again, it's still in the rough stage. And once the rough turnarounds are approved, then we go to the next phase, which is cleanup. This particular phase is pretty cool because now we're putting in like the nuances, details, making sure the lines are crisp and clean so that, you know, when it goes to Toon Boom Harmony, our show was animated in Toon Boom Harmony. We're using like the rig system on some of the animation. So when we do the cleanup lines make sure that when it's animated, you know, the lines are super smooth and not fuzzy. Next, I think Eastwood is going to go over design layout.
Yeah, so meanwhile, all that is happening, the layout team gets the green light to kind of start the episode. And, you know, we have amazing layout designers, and they, you know, they kind of take the concept and the map, and then they kind of really flesh it out and have it ready for the paint, which is the next step. With this layout step, you know, everything's kind of been more refined, you know, it's really show style, you know, we have the offset line in the background, you know, everything is like, you know, it's really polished, you know, the perspective's correct, the research has been done. So, you know, this is like the job of the layout artist, you know, to create these like beautiful, elaborate set for the characters to act in. So yeah, so you can see that they have a bunch of storyboard references and map references and color script references, you know, to really kind of help build this like fun set, even though it's, you know, cartoon and animation, is still grounded in like the reality that, you know, we all know. And
you guys are inspiring the next generation of designers right now.
Oh my god. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's really fun just to like look at all these references. Like, be like, oh my god, I didn't know people have backyard parties like this. It's so cool. And then once the character's been clean and approved, we also sometimes even because of like everything's being stacked, the color designers will kind of take the front 3/4 design and start putting out these colors. And a great way to kind of gauge what everyone is kind of feeling is to put out like multiple versions, and sometimes you have somewhere to start with, like, but sometimes if it's a new character, you want to come up with as many different, kind of outfits or color, as possible. And then once that's approved, we kind of go back into filling out the whole turn. You can see it, there's a lot of attention to details, we even paint like the underfoot of the shoe, because sometimes when they walk, you can kind of see that. And you can, just a lot of really cool details that we do. And yeah, and then one of these are like the Kinsei kind of dress.
So adorable.
Yeah, for Penny and their friend. And this one's really fun because, our character stylist, color artist, Umaima, I was like, give as much like fun, glamorous, like palette and options as possible, maybe do some sparkles. You can see, just all these different like, choices for everyone to kind of, pick from. And the cool part about this is also like, yeah, it's so fun. It's just like, do you want regular sparkle or do you want all sparkle? It's like, it's just cool.
What flavor sparkle do you want?
I know. Which sparkle do you want?
You know what, Eastwood, I do have a quick question just to interject. So I've seen so many people, because a comment in the chat by our PA Virginia actually inspired it. So many people have said that it was giving Dreamgirls vibes. Were y'all thinking that?
Maybe.
Once we pick the beehive aspect of it all, I guess it's, all the parts kind of assemble themselves. Yeah. But I mean, the beehive is kind of the key component to it.
Yeah, we definitely like putting, little Easter eggs on the show. Whenever Bruce allows it, Jan allows it, it's always a fun time for the designers to kind of put little, Easter eggs, but yeah. And then, yeah, there's like some, and then we have like the amazing elaborate turn that Umaima did. And, we usually put these characters in behind like a background color that's kind of like what we're thinking that they're going to be in, just to make sure things don't clash. Yeah, we really do our best on those. And yeah, some more cool, beautiful colors. You can see like the different gold shimmers and sparkle. Like we really, we really went all in for the, for Librea. And then, so sometimes when these character designs are finalized, sometimes they, they have big acting moments and they kind of break out of their model. And then we'll talk about these special poses.
Yeah, here we have like a few special poses of La Cienega. And as Wood said, sometimes we have to create a special pose when the character is not able, or when we're not able to use like the turnaround rigs for animation. If you look at the turnarounds, they're pretty much, really stiff, but we want to give more life to the characters. So, we add a little bit more special poses. And you can look at La Cienega, her hair is like cut crazy. So we couldn't really use that beautiful model up on the other side. So like I said, special poses are really cool because we can, do crazy expressions, cool, actual great poses. And when like this one here of La Cienega hanging from her hair, this is actually a cleanup pose, but still again, we can use the turnaround rig model to create this. And so we're able to like get up under the dress and have a nice angle and, give La Cienega that expression of like, oh my God, I'm hanging by my hair way up high, So special poses are actually fun to do. I love doing turnarounds, but I think I love doing special poses more because, you get a lot more fun and personality out of them. I'll give it back to Eastwood to talk about color.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's like following the color model. And, as you can see, like from before, like the color, with the clean, we have the shoes on. And it's just, sometimes like we just have, because of how fast production goes, we just kind of jump to like correcting it in color, correcting in the cleanup. So it's really, it's really fun to kind of see all these things come to life so quick. I think that's the
we had to see her giant feet. We love feet on this show.
Jan, don't say that.
I don't.
Oh my God, Jan. Okay, I would like to interject though that like
Mr.
Laren,
Chevalier, I think that's his name. This is another example. We couldn't use the turnaround model to give that cartoon tape of his eyes bulging out, so we drew that and put like dollar signs in his eyes because he's seeing money. It's like, oh my God, pink, wide-eyed money, dollar sign. Those are great, and this is the color version of it. And again, I love special poses because you can get lots of life and drawing and do cool things like this.
Yeah. Bree, were you gonna say
I was going to say for Laren and Eastwood, I think I'm glad that you guys brought up like have special poses to discuss, because I think that for a lot of aspiring character designers, special poses isn't really something that they might not quite know about. Because I've had quite a bunch of like aspiring character designers ask me like, what does this mean? Like, what is a special pose? And I think it's like really great to like bring that up. That is part of the process and part of the job, in addition to like mouth charts and like turnarounds and things like that.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, because because we're doing all of this in LA, and then we have to send it overseas. You want to kind of give them as much information as possible because of how how animated the characters are. So it helps to have that skill set.
Allow them to push it, right? Like really push the expressions and those poses, because they might be like, is that the character or is it? Well, push it this far, make her feet this big, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times we'll get like, the artist will do it, and then, Bruce will have a draw over and notes, and it's like a really collaborative process for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then meanwhile, while this is all happening, the background painters will take the final layout and paint it up, based on the color script and where it is in the episode. They really paint it up. And they put texture on it, they put lighting on it, they make it really beautiful and just, a gorgeous set. And this is not even like before comp, so it's really cool to kind of see this process come to life. And, sometimes like, we'll see it in black and white, but then when we see it in color, it's like, wow, like this is like the final look, so it's really cool. Really rewarding to see. Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's some backgrounds, and because there's like a day and night version, we do several versions of this set. Another kind of close-up shot. Sometimes when a background doesn't changes perspective or changes angle or have a different set of information, we kind of do those too. That way it can kind of inform everyone like, okay, on this side of the house you have more of A, B, and C, so it kind of helps inform everyone in the production. And then also, all this is happening, we also have like our prop artist division. They do amazing work. You can see like everything is painted so detailedly, like close up and all that kind of stuff. So they take like boards, like how this prop is going to be interacted, and then and the cool part is like this one is a great example, is to show like the thinking behind like the design of the prop. In daytime it's kind of like this golden yellow mustard kind of star, but at the nighttime at the party it lights up. So it kind of, it's like two different set, and it's just like these are the kind of attention to detail that we really want to push in the show. Some really cool firework design by our prop artists. This props and effects artists. This one they kind of follow the board, but they kind of obviously reference real life firework. They come with these like gorgeous colors. Some really funny Proud Snack sign.
Make me want to go draw right now. Time to leave. Goodbye. Want to go draw.
This is a fun one because sometimes these effects go onto the character model, so you kind of have that in mind. Like you want to make sure like this lipstick color actually kind of show up. So we're not doing anything without referencing what has already been designed for the episode. And then obviously like on our show, with the way it's painted, we also include like lighting on the characters, and it's like the last step process when things are just about to be shipped. And then we can kind of talk about like how we kind of do these shapes.
Yeah, another step that we do in character design is that we give the characters a little bit more dimensionality by adding lighting shapes. Those who are fans of the old series or the original series, um, for this particular season or new show, we wanted to, give the characters a little bit more 3D shapes. And so by adding color lighting effects on black and white line art, usable color, as you can see on here. And then once it's translated to like the final color design in comp, we can go to the next one.
Yeah, so then, with those shapes that are done by the character designers, we implemented that into the final model and whatever the lighting scenario is. Like, for instance, this one's going to be just like a pink light because of the party. The overseas studios will take that into the comp. So we'll have this really cool lighting effect. And that's kind of, a really quick overview on the...
There's a lot that goes into design, you guys. There's so many different processes. Black and white, color, props, lighting, BG paint, layout design. Heck, I'm sure Eastwood could probably go on for 2 more hours just on how to make a bomb, like a super dope like design portfolio as well. Like, this is the meat and potatoes of it. And I think that Eastwood and Laren, you guys have like really like given like a nice overview of just like what goes into it. Cause a lot of people think with animation, just press the animation button and there it is. But it's like, no. There's so many more steps, you guys.
Totally.
And I think once the design process is being done, like all the while there's another process that Bruce was kind of talking about, which
I was so rudely interrupted with.
Oh no! You scared him away.
Eastwood will be back. He probably left by accident instead of just unsharing. But Bruce, tell us about storyboarding and directing.
All right, y'all. Look at Eastwood.
He's like, bye, Bruce.
He's like, I gotta go.
Again, hold on, everyone. Let Eastwood come in and interrupt him. We joke, guys. Listen, well, listen, this is the fun part about making them. This is having fun, right? I mean, it's a point that when we first started out making the show, is that we wanted to really cultivate an environment that was very fun for everybody to participate, so we can get the maximum work out of everyone involved. Because listen, all the fun that you showed on screen, and it takes a lot of long hours to sort of get this stuff done. And so we're working in a fantastic medium, and you always want to keep it fun because that fun shows up on the screen. And so that's part of, really, as part of the job, is being sort of a producer. Like anybody here is sort of being, aspire to be producers like that. What Jan did mention was the idea of the culture that you kind of cultivate in making these types of shows. Everyone kind of has to be on sort of one accord and got to be really down with this project. So you really want to make sure that we're all sort of on the same page and we're all up for the fun that it takes to sort of put this stuff on the screen. And that really jumps out on the screen. So when I was earlier talking about just the idea of doing the title sequence, for me that was fun, because hearing the music and getting all these visuals in my head really started to really crystallize what I thought the title sequence could be. It could be fun, storytelling. You introduce all the characters. There was all these components in creating a great, memorable sequence, an opening musical sequence that I thought really kind of carried the tone and the temperament for what you were about to see in the episode. And I love really great title sequences. I mean, like, again, I'll age myself, but, shows like the Flintstones, the Jetsons, but even live action TV shows like Bewitched had a great animated intro. I Dream of Jeannie had an animated intro. I know you guys don't even know what the hell I'm talking about right now. I get it. Go to YouTube after Google this and you'll see what I'm talking about. But animated intros are always really fun when and especially for us, as a brand new show some 20 years ago, we wanted to sort of lay out the characters for you, lay out the idea of what you're going to see moving forward. So they don't really emphasize title sequences as much nowadays. But it was important for you to, if you look at the title sequence, what you get is our main character right out the box. We actually set up the idea of the family. So I'll give you quick hitters of the family, and I'm going to land at my star of the show, who's Penny. And then Penny takes us through the narrative of getting ready for her day. And then throughout getting ready for her day, she runs into all of her family members. So that was sort of, there's a storytelling component to the title sequence that I thought was necessary, and the music made it easy to wrap around my head. So and because I'm an animator, it was easy to get those ideas down pretty specific. So the animators would follow pretty much to the letter what I boarded out. And so Charles can kind of give you can walk the side by side with the actual title sequence, the storyboards, and the actual finished product, and you kind of see how I laid that out.
You and me will always be tied. Every day and every night. 1 second. Oh, is it playing for you guys?
It was.
Let me try again. Oh, it just wasn't playing for me. I see. Technical difficulties.
That's okay. We'll see it again.
There we go. Is it playing for everyone?
So you can kind of see from, you know, like from storyboard to actual delivery that it stayed pretty much the same. I mean, there are a few things that we actually sort of pulled out, and, you know, small things, you know, Trudy carrying the phone with her screen right hand as opposed to screen left hand, things like that we kind of discovered as we started to sort of lay it out and kind of animate it. But I every beat and stuff like that just started really kind of nail it in my head. So it just made it easier to translate, you know, once we got it to its final incarnation. So that for me, that was fun because I always had this sitting in my head, and once the music, you know, really wrapped itself around it, it became pretty simple to kind of visualize it. And so the marriage of a really good theme song and the visuals that kind of really march it all the way through, I thought was key to sort of introducing the show on the right note. You know, with first time around, we didn't have Bobby in the introduction, you know, and so we dropped Bobby in there with Mr. Chips. He wasn't in there the first time around. So we really updated that. We went from, I think the first time around, Penny was, let's see, what happened? Penny chasing her siblings, but this time they took her phone, which in essence is the lifeline to, you know, every teen nowadays. So that's, you know, so the advent of social media, we give you a hint of that, you know, as that's going to be a true component in the show as we push forward. And a lot of the jokes with Sugar Mom and Oscar kind of stayed the same. The door gag stays the same, where if you notice, each episode has a different sort of guest that comes to the door that Oscar slams the door on. That was something original that we had the first time around that we wanted to make sure that we made it an integral part of telling the story. You know, having Oscar eating chicken and waffles the first time around, we lost that into Oscar in his more inventive self this time around. So it's fun. Those little caveats sort of make it great. And you know, again, that's the, you know, between, you know, making sure that you as a director that you communicate those ideas. The best way you can communicate those ideas, especially of me as an artist, is to draw. So my job in most cases is sitting with all these really great artists, and instead of in most cases talking them through, which is something that you can do as well, but why not use the skill that you know I've been trained with this whole time, and the best way that you can communicate with anyone, no matter what language they speak or anything, it always works through the drawing. That translates in any language. So we find that as being a very useful tool, especially when we realize that we're working with studios overseas that, you know, English may not be their first language, but everyone can understand and decipher the language of a drawing or collective drawing together to get your idea across. You know, and then again, it's like but this whole idea of drawing as well and connecting all the dots, the truest last connecting component, and is actually, you know, is your second director, really, is your editor, because the editor is the one who's going to be in front of you and allowing you to sort of really see this in a way that you hadn't seen it before. So the editor is really a key component to really assembling and showing you different ideas that helps really get to the best idea possible. And so that's why I got Charles in the mix here, because he's one of the best ones in the business. I'll let Charles take over from here. Go ahead, Charles. Show him what's up.
All right. Wow, I hope I can hold up an intro like that. But,
Charles Jones, the
GOAT. I'll give you guys a quick rundown of, like, you know, the process of editing, because, you know, not only are we the gatekeeper of the episode, but we get all the assets from every single department that you've already, you know, heard from, you know, design and the board artist, and, you know, we sit with the director and we kind of time things out. And I want to touch on timing just a little bit, because, you know, depending on what board artist you get, sometimes you get a panel or two, and imagine Oscar's walking down a long hallway, and you gotta be able to time that to make it where it's realistic, where he can get down that hall, but also make it where it's kind of like, you know, palatable to someone, not to just be bored of someone walking down the hall. So we're adding music and sound effects and little extra pieces to kind of just make it entertaining. You know, obviously the whole episode's not someone walking down the hall, but, you know, we gather all these things together. When I say the gatekeeper, I have a little image. It's like to show you the timeline of all the assets that we kind of get. It's like, you know, dialogue, and we got to make sure everybody's the correct, you know, actor, and they're saying things that make sense. So this is about 30 tracks, and this is a mild timeline to speak, because we have it, you know, we can have way bigger than this, where it's like sound effects and dialogue and music. And, you know, some editors like myself, we kind of bring in our own music. That was some of the joke what Bruce was talking about earlier. You know, I kind of sneak in a couple compositing sounds and stuff just to kind of help twinkle the show. But
Charles, really quick. Charles, I just saw somebody saying, "Oh my gosh, I'll never complain about editing again after seeing this timeline."
Yeah, this is a mild one, actually, because this episode didn't have a lot of music and you know, action and stuff. So this 30 tracks is not even a lot. But
DNA sequence or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Editors do a lot of work, you guys.
They do.
Yeah.
They absolutely do.
So with that, you know, I wanted to show you guys a quick time of the animatic after we get everything together, because we're looking at, you know, continuity, shot to shot. You know, you can't have Oscar looking this way and then the next shot he's looking that way. You have a lot of things to talk about. Like Eastwood was saying, we can go on for hours and explain that. But let me just show you the animatic, and then we'll show you another process right after that.
Is it playing for everybody?
Oh, I think everyone's saying it's not playing, Bree.
It's playing.
Oh, okay.
Maybe some folks it is.
Okay.
There are some folks that might not. They might need to restart. Yes, Cree Summers is Peebo.
Yeah, Cree Summers, that's right. That's awesome.
It's hilarious.
So fun.
So after we get the animatic together, it's not over after that. We have to send it off, like Eastwood and everyone is saying. You send it off to be animated because, like Kylie said, the animatic is just a blueprint. So everybody gets their approvals. We sat with the director, Bruce has signed off, the executive signed off. And as soon as we send that off, the animation, it comes back. And then we have time, we have to do retakes. I mean, there's a whole nother thing, you know, when I think I wanted to say that editing is a process because it's a process of revision constantly. You know, not only do you get revisions before you send it into animatics, but when you get into color, you're starting to approve the shots and make sure, and, you know, and Bruce is the first showrunner I've ever worked with where, you know, take this shot from this other episode and then take this shot over here, we're going to put it here. And then I'm like, whoa, that makes so much sense. And then, you know, another thing about Bruce, he's right. He does let the editor have like some creative control where you're like, I don't know if this works, and he actually listens to you. So I got to give him props for that too. But after it goes off to animation, it comes back and we kind of tweak the show and we lock it, and then the editor has to put on another hat and we ship it off, and you have to worry about deliverables and aspect ratios and all that. So with that, I have one more quick time just to show you that exact same scene with everything that Eastwood was talking about with his color palettes and all that stuff of what it looks like when we finally lock that exact scene.
I die off that joke every time. Horse meat. Those rumors are just that.
I don't know how we got away with that. Honestly, I don't know how we get away with half the things that
I know,
that
right?
we've aired.
A lot of fighting. A lot of fighting with SP. Right.
a lot of Jan talking to everybody to get it going.
Yeah.
We do. We work it out.
I have to say, like, there's the other side of it too. It's like a script-driven show like this. You know, it's like the first line of defense are the writers. So Kylie they put the script up and we have to defend it most of the time. That's Ralph Farquhar, who's showrunner on the writing side of everything. And yeah, it's like it's deep battles to save jokes, save gags, and stuff that end up on the cutting room floor is some of the funniest stuff ever. That we revive, and a lot of times, sometimes we revive. There's a couple of jokes we revive in some episodes, because sometimes when things get animated, it takes a whole different turn. If you're looking at an animatic of a joke and you're laughing at it, you're not seeing the nuance of the performance that helps sell the joke. And so that's why, you know, getting it to the finish line sometimes is a huge part of selling it, a joke in most cases. And as Charles mentioned too, sometimes it's timing with a lot of jokes, and that's where editing really comes in. It's like when you hear the joke, even in the booth, even on paper, it's not funny till that actor gets behind the mic and can understand how to time that joke, you know, to make it come through. And then we get an editing sometimes we find that there's lots of versions of that timing and everything else around it that makes it even that much more funnier. So everything gets polished each stage along the way when we make these episodes, and that's the fun of it. That's where everybody's participation matters. I mean, you know, it's a big machine, but everyone's voice counts in the machine, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, for sure. And like making animation, and this is all just like one episode that we were kind of breaking down for all of you. And imagine like you have to do this for an entire season of a show simultaneously at various stages. So it's not just like one episode happening at a time. animation production, it's multiple episodes going on at various stages. Everybody's doing stuff all over the place. Kylie's writing over here. Bruce is like giving notes over here. Jan's overlooking everything. Charles is editing here. Eastwood and Laren are designing there at the same time. Like, it's crazy.
So just to go to the, I just pulled up the chat for the first time, and I saw that someone actually was talking about the joke about Oscar and Trudy switching clothes and how
switching.
It's hilarious. That was
that even surprised me. Like, I'm like,
that
really?
was an example because that was a hard thing.
Okay.
We pulled that joke off a few times until we finally got it approved. And the first version was pretty obvious, where you see Oscar and Trudy on the couch. You don't see that in this one, but you actually saw a version where Oscar and Trudy's on the couch.
There's a finesse to it. There's a finesse.
We finessed it. We made it work, but yeah, that was a key component because that's the tone of our show. The tone of our show allows us to tell certain jokes, and we were always pushing at moving the goalposts, trying to make sure that the tone really fit with the jokes that we're trying to tell. And that was one joke that took a couple iterations to get through.
But you also said something earlier in the show.
Can we just go to Q&A, Bree? Let's just go ahead and hit it.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch real quick. Bruce, you had said something in animation, like all the struggles that you had with some of the racier ideas. You always would say, like, the fact that it's animation, it does soften it. I don't know if you can recall that, but that does help it. Just like what Kylie was saying earlier.
Yeah, because they're not seeing the
got through once they saw the color.
Yeah, the writers can really write some really raunchy stuff sometimes, and even on the page, you cringe. You're like, "Oh shit, we actually gonna get away with that." But it's about it. Then it becomes the other side of how we stage it, how we can really sort of
the presentation of it.
Yeah,
the presentation of it matters at all times. So, that's why I love when the writers really go for it. And the challenge for us as artists is to present it in a way that allows it to get to the finish line. That I love that. That's really the goal of really taking the best, of the best material and really bringing it home. You can. I mean, I don't discourage that at any stage. I love seeing the writing get as edgy as possible.
Mm-hmm. And we could do Q&A, but we're very much at time. But I guess to wrap it up, just to ask you all in general, because there are a lot of people sort of asking, like, how do I be a writer, or storyboarding and things like that. And I guess lightning round, could I ask you guys, just for the different pieces of the pipeline that you do, what's just like a general piece of advice you would give somebody trying to get into producing, writing, and design boards, just like kind of quickly? Jan, just to start with you, since production is
persistence,
the backbone of everything.
Yeah, no, persistence. There's a way in, and keep your networking going and be persistent. And there's always a way, and there's always places to meet people and learn and push your craft, push your learning about what it is, and definitely get out there and meet people.
Mm-hmm. And Kylie, how about you for writing? What is someone asked, like, they're an aspiring screenwriter, like, what's a good general rule of thumb or something that you wish you knew going into writing?
Well, yeah, I think constantly creating content is a good one, like brainstorming with your fellow writer friends and creating like a small bi-weekly writers room where you can just brainstorm and bounce ideas off of each other. I think that's super cool because you'll have different writing styles and, kind of just create an amalgam of projects that, you never know will be the springboard for your success. So just constantly churning and staying, on track and productive with your craft.
Laren, what's some good advice for character design work?
Man, character design, pretty much draw from life. Take anatomy classes if you need to. Take animal drawing classes if you need to. Get some how to draw books, but for the most part, draw people, draw everything in environments, because you're going to be able to translate all that information into your character designs.
No, that's really good. Yeah, because I know there are a lot of people who want to be character designers and all they draw is people or all they draw is animals, and it's like, you need to draw everything. Because I know Bruce, and you've like had people like draw, our character designers draw all kinds of stuff for our show, and Kylie, like you and the writers have like written all kinds of stuff, so it's like you got to be really versatile with what you can do. And
well, and also be able to draw in various styles too, if you want to get into like TV animation.
Right. So that, I mean, to even add on to what Laren's talking about, it's like being able to draw for the most part, you know, being able to draw like your draftsmanship, your natural draftsmanship tells us a whole lot, because as Laren's saying, it's like you want to be able to be versatile to work on lots of different styles of shows and stuff. But what shows most artists that you can actually do this at your regular life drawings, because we can mold you into the type of style that we need to mold you into. And sometimes people mistake their portfolio as being just one style. So you just draw this cartoony style, but that cartoony style would not tell me anything about what you can do on another project. And so so I would recommend like what Laren is saying, like draw, you know, life drawings, drawings of animals, rough studies. They don't have to be in, you know, in finished, or, you know, they don't have to be in color, because we all know color hides a multitude of sins. I always tell artists that all the time. They get a drawing and they paint it and color it, and it's like, you know, it's like icing on a bad tasting cake. It's like, nah, you know, I want to see that cake coming out the oven. That's what I want to do right away. You're wasting your time on that icing. I'll be like, you waste your time on that icing, bro. So really, like the raw drawings tells us a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. And Charles, how about editorial? Like, how does one become a dope editor? In a very brief.
My first advice is to do it just like everybody else is saying. You know, if you're in college, try to edit everybody's stuff. You know, that way you get that experience, but then you also have a reel. That's pretty much what you need, is something like a portfolio or a reel to kind of be seen and say, hey, I can do this. So,
and I think also just in the overall, it's like, you know, if editing is your thing, yeah, start making movies on your own, you know, and edit stuff together, practice the idea of editing. There's a lot of home equipment now that allows you to really kind of polish the areas of the craft that you think is necessary. And then I would recommend, the biggest recommendation is get a job at one of these studios, no matter what. Get a job, because you're not going to burst onto the scene being a fantastic producer until you know the mechanics of what it takes to make one of these things. You're not going to burst on the scene, you know, being a great art director, unless you jump in and learn how to work under an art director who actually can teach you things that you probably don't know right away. You're not going to burst on the scene being a star. Like, that's kind of, you know, I was in this business a good 20 years before I got a show to actually get a chance to work on. So if you're down with that type of timeline and really earning your keep in this business, I mean, then you know, animation takes a while. So so understanding the mechanics and gaining allies and stuff, people who actually can vouch for your work and everything, matters. But the only way to do that is to get a job in this business first. You know, it's like there's a small percentage of people that come to the business that sell a project. I'm telling you guys that because I get that all the time, where people DM me and say, I got a project for you. And I'm like, I'm not seeing you. I'm not going to see you. I'm not going to work for you. You're going to work for me first. That's how this works. You know, it's like that. That's kind of how this works. It's just how it works. So, so get a job, you know, show us your stuff, and don't be ashamed to show us your stuff. And yeah, someone mentioned that I saw in the chat, studies in your portfolio. Yeah, put those raw studies in your portfolio, because it just tells us a lot. You can put your other finished drawings and stuff in there too. And you can also put your style of where you feel the most comfortable. If you like drawing anime styles like that, that's great. But also put regular life drawings like that, so we know that you can actually draw on a project that doesn't look like anything of an anime, you know, sort of environment. Or, you know, because I know some great anime artists that just draw through a lot of their stuff, and you know that they can work on anything, even though they favor the anime style. So, I mean, listen, you know, it's like, I think that if you're trying to get a job on this side of the business, meaning that, you know, sort of Western animation, stuff like that, that's what I would recommend. If anime is your style and that's what you want to do, and that's fantastic, listen, apply to those studios in Korea and Japan, because that's a lot of guys I know actually do that. I got a friend of mine, you guys probably know in this room, LaShawn Thomas, who that's what he does, right? He does anime. And that's where he makes his bones, and that's the style he draws in. But he did exactly that. He went to Korea. Like, he's not out here. He went to Korea. Now he's running stuff over there. So
Mhm.
be aware of the business. Be aware of the industry. You can make it happen.
Yeah. In Eastwood, how does one get to being a dope art director? Well, I guess Bruce already kind of said it. Like,
yeah, I think, yeah, for sure. I think what Bruce was saying is like totally 100%. Just kind of like, just learning what, you know. I remember like when I first started, I wanted to like, I went to Pixar for the first time, and they were like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "You know, I want to do the color script." Everyone just looked at me, going like, "Yeah, right." You know, we got Dicey Singing, and everyone's just kind of working here for a long time to do the color script. So you know, it's just kind of like those things. Like you just really have to learn the pipeline, the process, and just really like, you know, really learn all the foundation, really, because you know, you don't want to bake a bad cake, or you don't want to put icing on a bad cake, kind of thing. So yeah,
you can't be the goat unless you got to work to there.
Yeah,
you got to get there. Oh,
right.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for coming to see us like just deep dive into like what it takes to make an episode of the Proud Family Louder and Prouder, as well as just also learning in general about the animation production pipeline. We really hope you had a fantastic time and learned a lot and took notes, took everything that everybody said to heart, and hope to see you, if you're not in the business, hope to see you in the business soon, because there's some talented people out there, we know. And yeah, have a good rest of your day. Thank you guys so much.